And we are back with the third segment of the GSMC Basketball Podcast presented by the GSMC Sports Network. And in this third segment, we're going to be talking about the Bucks going up against the Pacers in Game 1, as well as the Celtics going up against the Miami Heat. So we'll start with the Bucks and the Pacers, and keeping with the trend that I said before, the home team was able to prevail in Game 1, and the Bucks were no different. And along with another trend, the games were also blowouts, and the Bucks ended up winning 109-94. This was without Giannis playing in the game, and the Bucks were able to win at home and defend home court. I'm very surprised by this, and I'm very surprised how well the Bucks were able to play despite not having Giannis. Now, Damian Lillard, he was ridiculous in the first half. He ended the game with 35 points and 6 rebounds, and also ended with 35 points at the half. So there's some good and bad to take away from that. Now, he was almost able to outscore the entire Pacers in the first half, which they got most of their production from Pascal Siakam, who ended the game with 36 points and 13 rebounds. Tyrese Halliburton, he ended the game with only 9 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds on 38 minutes. So that's not really good for the Pacers. Miles Turner ended the game with 17 points, and TJ McConnell ended the game with 10 points, and that was basically it for the scoring coming in from the Pacers. Halliburton shooting only 7 shots is not ideal for this team whatsoever. He definitely needs to take a lot more shots than he is used to, and I don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know why he hasn't really taken as many shots as he's used to in these games, and it really costed them because, again, as I said previously, Damian Lillard, he scored 35 points at the half, but that means he did not do anything in the second half. And if Tyrese Halliburton would have ended up scoring a few more than he did in the second half of this game, the story might have been different, and they might have been able to win Game 1, but instead he only took 7 shots. And Chris Middleton, he ended up playing really well in this game, 9 of 14 from the field, getting 23 points. Bobby Portis ended the game with 15 points, 7 of 15 from the field. Brook Lopez ended the game 5 for 10 from the field with 11 points. And Malik Beasley ended the game 3 for 7 with 9 points. And again, there was a lot more scoring coming in from the rest of the Bucks, especially coming in from Damian Lillard, than there was from the rest of the Pacers. But keep in mind how Pascal Siakam was able to outscore Damian Lillard as a whole in this game. So if Halliburton only showed up in this game and would have shot the ball a bit more times and maybe play like how everyone usually saw him play in the in-season tournament, then this could be a different story. But obviously, I'm really surprised with Doc Rivers in this game, how they ended up winning the first game, but they have to defend this home court advantage, and they have to do that in the next game, which is set to happen tomorrow at 8:30, and they're still expected to play in Milwaukee. Obviously, like the first 2 games, they're in the higher seeds home court advantage, and so I still think that the Pacers have a chance in this series, and they do still have a chance to win in Game 2. It was a relatively bad shooting night for them. They shot 8 for 38 from the 3-point line. If they would have hit a few more threes, then they would have been all right. And the Bucks, they shot 14 of 37 from 3. And obviously, they shot with a team that shoots much better than you from 3. It's really difficult to beat that. So if they're able to match that shooting in the next game, then they should have no problem in winning. And that should be the biggest problem for the Milwaukee Bucks, establishing a defense on the perimeter because, again, allowing 38 three-pointers to be attempted, I mean, a lot of them were really good looks, and it really just came down to them missing. So if the players don't miss, that's going to be a really big problem for the Bucks, and that's going to be something that they're going to have to prove that they can defend. Now, a lot of these games, you might notice, like, again, with these blowouts, they're rather boring. So, and this is no different for this game, which is the Miami Heat going up against the Boston Celtics in the Garden. So the Celtics ended up winning 114-94, again, another blowout, and again, the home team taking home court advantage in this postseason. So Jason Tatum, this was his first ever triple-double in the postseason, ended the game with 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Jaylen Brown, he ended the game with 17 points and 8 rebounds. And Derek White ended the game with 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists. Porzingis, he ended the game with 18 points and 4 rebounds. And Drew Holiday ended the game with only 6 points. So, obviously, a lot of good scoring and a lot of mediocre scoring coming in from the team. Drew Holiday shot the worst on the team. He was 2 for 8 from the field for 6 points. He's always been really bad in the postseason, and I feel really bad for him because it's like he was inconsistent on Milwaukee, and now he's not really doing his best on the Celtics. However, he does have a really good team to play behind, so it's not like his performance really affects him and his team like how it did when he was on Milwaukee. So because Derek White, he shot 6 for 10 from the field, Porzingis was 7 for 13 from the field, and there was really no one that was like tall enough to stop Kristaps Porzingis on the Miami Heat, and there was no one that could really match in points against them. So Bam ended up playing 36 minutes. He ended up scoring 24 points with 6 rebounds and 3 assists. And unfortunately, that wasn't enough for the Boston Celtics to match up against them. And they're really missing Jimmy Butler. Jamie Jaquez Jr. ended the game with 16 points. Tyler Hero, he ended the game with 11 points and 4 assists and 4 rebounds. Caleb Martin ended the game with 4 points. And Nikola Jovic ended the game with 10 points. And coming off the bench, Delon Wright ended the game with 17 points. And obviously, this game, they desperately needed Jimmy Butler and his performance. A Jimmy Butler 20-point game would have made this game a little bit more competitive. Maybe even 30 points would have made it more competitive. Asking a lot from Jimmy Butler, but again, he's expected to miss most of the playoffs for his injury, and without him being in the first round, I genuinely don't think the team has a chance to prevail past these Boston Celtics, who are still seeking revenge for what they did the previous season when they were the 8th seed, and the Celtics, they almost came back from a 0-3 lead, but they ended up losing in the final game at home in embarrassing fashion. So with the fact that the Celtics are coming out with revenge into this series, I don't think that the Miami Heat have what it takes to take this to more than 6 games. So I have a feeling that this will be one of the series that ends in a sweep. If it doesn't end in a sweep, then it's going to end in 5, but that's basically all that I'm giving for this team because I genuinely don't think they have what it takes. Now, obviously, the Celtics, they've just proven time and time again that they are the better team, and it really shows in this series, and I really think that they're just going to win out as the rest of the games continue. And so for this game, I'm not putting I'm not putting like a ton of stock in that fourth quarter that they all had. It was a relatively mediocre fourth quarter it was a really bad fourth quarter for the Miami Heat. They ended up scoring, like, in the second half, they ended up only scoring 14 points in the third quarter, and then the Boston Celtics scored 31, but then the Miami Heat, they'd scored 35 in the fourth, so it wasn't that bad, but the Celtics, they ended up scoring 23, and it really just wasn't enough for the Miami Heat to, like, pull through and win this game. Boston was finding, like, good shot within 7 seconds of each possession without fail, and it was just three-pointer after three-pointer. It was easy shot after easy shot for Boston, and in the first 3 quarters, this was constant in the first 3 quarters, and Miami was lucky to get an open look on a given possession. They were just lucky to, like, even get an open shot, because it was like they've been again, the Celtics have proven that they're good both on the offense and they're good on the defense. They're smothering on both ends of the court, and it's really difficult to come back against that. So obviously, like, that game is it was really one-sided, and the Celtics, I have a feeling that the Celtics are going to win in 4 games. If I were to bet on a team, I would bet the Celtics to win in game 2, simply because, like, they are still playing in the home court, and they are one of the best teams at defending home court advantage. And most of the time, when they do go up 2-0 in a series, they end up winning the series in the end. So if they do end up winning game 2, then I see this game being I see this series being a sweep. And there's relatively, like, nothing that the rest of the players could do, and that's basically, like, all that I have for these 2 games. Again, Damian Lillard, he played relatively well in the first half, but the fact that he didn't play well continuously throughout the game is a little bit questionable. So I really think that, like, it's still possible for the Pacers to come out winning in this game, in this series, if they just play as good as they normally do and they hit the threes that they do. But that's basically all I have for these 2 games. So then I will go into the 4th segment, where I will talk about the Thunder going up against the Pelicans in their first game, which was arguably the only competitive game that happened yesterday. And then I will also go over the Cavs beating the Orlando Magic. So I will be right back after this short break.